Hi everyone, it's Michelle Lightworker here, and this is another beautiful, wonderful, stunning episode of beautiful souls getting together, chewing the enlightened fat, sharing their feelings, being in the flow, connecting with spirit, creating a space, a sacred space where spirit can drop in and really unite all of you that are watching into our energy and our vibration that we're creating here today. And I'm pretty heart-beating excited because I have a very, very special person to me joining me on the show today. My good friend of many years, Lois Rowley, and also has been a student of mine for many years as well, but primarily a soul sister for me. And we wear many hats in this world, and you can say that there's a handful of people that you trust with your life, and she's one of them. So let me just formally introduce Lois to you, the beautiful Lois Rowley. She's primarily a counsellor, but she feels that she does it quite differently. And we're going to, explore that today in the show to give you a greater idea of how that works. She's quite different in the way she approaches her practice from counsellors and psychologists today. So she works with their feelings, and some people are really emotional, they're really lost and perhaps really distracted by their feelings, can't quite work them out, can't quite find their way. So what Lois actually helps her clients to do is to understand and unpick their emotions so that they can actually see their emotions as a tool, to see them as an ability rather than a disability, which a lot of people see their emotions as. Lois is fully trained as in her Bachelor Degree, undergraduate Bachelor's Degree in Social Science, majoring in Psychology. She has a Diploma of Counselling, and she's also a Master Certified Lightworker Practitioner. I'm proud to introduce you to my wonderful friend and glorious soul sister, Lois Rowley.
Hi, Michelle. How are you going?
Absolutely awesome. How are you?
Excellent. Excited. Really excited to share my reality with you today.
Yeah, and it was really cool. Like, we were talking yesterday about just chatting as we do on whatever we want to chat about, and it was really interesting how the topic came up about that we both thought, oh God, we really want to talk about this on our conversation, because it's something that we're both very passionate about, and something you're extraordinarily good at, by the way. I've seen you in action many times, is how to help people to travel the path, like you beautifully said it yesterday when I was talking to you, to travel the path of their feelings and to learn from those. And I just like you to expand on that for everybody so they can understand that, what that looks like, because it is absolutely precious.
Yeah, and I suppose the hardest thing about expressing it is knowing where to start, because when people come and sit with me and I ask them how they are or what is happening for them, what I'm really asking them is, what is affecting you? What in your world is affecting you? And when they start sharing that with me, then the stuff of their reality becomes apparent. What I endeavour to do in a session with my clients is to have them realise that their emotions and their thoughts, and many people are really head driven, their emotions and their thoughts are not who they are. Who we are as beings is something far more profound and far more creative than the thoughts and the emotions that this body experiences on a daily basis. So the process of unpicking somebody's thoughts and emotions is a methodical and structured endeavour. And it's absolutely enjoyable. I have to say, it's the most joy I can get sitting down. I really love human beings. I really absolutely love, I love how we're all made up. We're all totally different, but seeing someone take back all the layers, and not just take them back, but own each and every one of those layers, is a total privilege, because underneath all of that stuff, inevitably we arrive at the being, the essence of the being. And that is, when somebody experiences that for the first time, it's awe-inspiring. It's a wow moment, really wow moment.
You know what I saw just then while you were sharing that? Can't
wait to hear.
Oh, I love it. I love this visual that I was given. It's like, you know, you're standing in a park and then you see an autumn tree and it just looks like this crusty old tree that's just got these autumn leaves on it from a distance. And then you go up to it and you realise that every single one of those leaves that are on that tree are gold.
Yeah. Well, funny you should say that, because, you know, every single emotion that you travel has gold in it. So, yeah, that's a really good analogy.
Exactly. It's like we just see feelings as these wrinkled up, crappy things that we don't want to even look at, that they make us feel like we're dying, and we're scared of them. And yet, if we truly were given the skills to learn how to sit in an emotion and how to actually, like you say, travel the emotion. I love that. You know, you're traveling the emotion. I've experienced with you, it brings me to tears a little bit, get a bit teary thinking about it, because I've had moments in my life where you've just been so present for me when I'm traveling these emotions, that you're just providing such a sacred, safe, incredibly solid space for it, for anything, anywhere it wants to go, which is absolutely precious. And then when you can learn to do that for yourself, which, you know, it's lovely to be able to do that for yourself, which I have been able to do, but it's so beautiful to be able to do that in the presence of another being. I think it's one of the biggest gifts that we can give to anyone in our life. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is a beautiful gift to be able to truly be there with another being when they are running out of effect and trying to find their way home. What you said earlier about people seeing emotions as, you know, things that make us feel like we want to die, and being, you know, quite gnarly in their nature. And you're quite right, you know. I would have to say that a great proportion of the population are really just trying to squash their emotions down, really making an effort to suppress their emotions, whether they're doing that just by switching off, by going numb, whether they're doing that by using alcohol or drugs or whatever other addiction that they might be using as a way of numbing the feelings that are adverse in their life. We are all geared as human beings very similarly. We seek reward and we avoid punishment. It's as simple as that. And that creates basically a pathway that we all unconsciously follow. And what I mean by that is that what happens when you suppress a adverse emotion is, you know, it gets shut down. It gets pushed into the cells of your body. It gets stuck in the back file, but it is still there and it is still part of you. And it doesn't have to be. There is a totally different way of doing life rather than, you know, filing stuff that you don't want to deal with. And those that filing system, or that shutdown, that suppression system that we all have going on, causes us to manage our environment for our own comfort. And that's a really human thing, you know. Absolutely no judgment comes with this, because we're all doing it at some level. Managing our environment for our own comfort is what we all do. Where you come from when you do that is when I start talking about control, or
I was going to say that you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. You know, when you're managing your environment, it's usually unconsciously controlling your environment and the people in it. You know, and you may think that you have the most wonderful intention in doing that. However, if the other person doesn't have absolute free will, you know, about whether they're being controlled or you're not offering full freedom, then, you know, those controls start to affect others. So what you have then is you have feelings getting suppressed here, you have control being projected in front of you, you have people receiving the adversity of your control, and you have them shutting down as well. So this is the way transference starts to work between humans, you know. And that's one of our all of us have this superpower called empathy. You know, I can feel you and you can feel me. It's human. We're built that way. You know, it is evolutionarily necessary that we care for each other. We are a collective. We form societies. That's what we're meant to do. So shutting down on this transference is also, it comes back to numbing and suppressing emotion. I am an advocate of allowing emotion to run freely. And part of the reason why a lot of people don't do this is because they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to process their emotions on the fly.
Exactly. And I love what you said yesterday when we were talking, and you said that each time someone does that, it's different. Every single time. I know that you said there's structure to this. I really agree with you. There is, because you have to really be honouring every step of the journey with the person, and there are levels people do go to, but every time someone travels their emotions, it is different. There is a different learning, there is a different experience, there is a different unlocking of ability or what have you, or closer to that core self of who we are. Like a little light shard pierces into that, you know, and the gold just shines through.
Yeah, that is right. And it happens within individuals, and it happens between individuals as well. So, you know, if somebody comes to sit with me in counselling and they are really emotional, the first thing I teach them is how to travel.
Cool.
Would you like to share that?
Yeah, you betcha, baby. Everybody's going, oh, what's this? Everybody wants to know now. We've talked it up, honey.
Yeah. So, really, really important, okay, because your emotions will take you everywhere the human being is meant to experience. It will take you everywhere that the being can go to gain expansion, and that's what they're for. Even primarily the more basic and the darker emotions, more adverse emotions, are really, if they're travelled well, are designed to expand you and expand your capabilities beyond your beyond your wildest dreams. So traveling in emotion is, it's a three-faceted, it's a multifaceted approach. I talk about awareness, compassion, and detachment used simultaneously. Okay, awareness is applying your consciousness, applying your mind, applying your heart and mind's eye. Yeah, applying the awareness of your being to the feeling that is apparent. Top of deck. I always say top card on the deck. Okay, if you are sad, start there. If you are angry, start there. If you're confused, start there. If you are numb, start there. That's where you start. Okay.
I love that. I love that you said numb, because some people don't think that's a feeling and would say, oh, I don't feel anything. And so what we do is we start there.
That's right, we start there. So, and you know, everybody uses different language, okay? Some people will say it's an energy. Some people will say it's an emotion. Some people will say it's a vibration. It's all semantic. It is what it is. It is energy. It is your emotions are your energy. Yep. So wherever you start there. With your awareness, you take that awareness, that consciousness to that feeling in your body. Yeah. What usually happens is the person's brain goes haywire. Brain goes off. Okay, well, I hate this feeling. I don't like this feeling. I need to get out of this feeling. How do I shut this down? Oh, this means he's an asshole. This means she's da da da. This means da 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 da. This brain la 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 la. Shh. Quiet the mind. This is symptomatic of this. Okay, so just travel the feeling. Travel the feeling. The feeling will shift and change. If you sit with the feeling, you give your whole conscious heart to a feeling, what will happen is it will expand, it will give you all that it's got, and then it'll collapse. And then you'll find another feeling, possibly, or it may be if the more you tidy up your case, the more you experience feelings one at a time. The more case you've got, then your feelings will flow one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Because basically what this is designed to do is that you have learnt to feel the way you have. And so those feelings reoccur. And every time they reoccur, they give you an opportunity to clean that thread of upset out that may lead back through 3, 4, 5, little instances where, this pattern occurred in the past. So focusing your awareness. Then the next thing that I talk about is putting your heart underneath the energy. This is so profoundly important. It's absolutely critical that your sense of self-compassion is in the space. Yeah. The reason for that is twofold. Firstly, because everything that I do is about restoring love within the individual being, but it's also about restoring love between that being and every other being. So that compassion is the restorative energy that allows us to travel that thread. So now the other reason that the other way that I explain this, and it is really necessary, is that when you're facing an energy that's really adversive, confronting, yeah, a lot of the times those energies are habitual. Yep, those energies can be habitual. I'd like to probably give a solid example. Okay, so here's a solid example. Lots of people experience abandonment issues. Okay,
that's a big one.
Yeah, it's huge for everybody. I think it's a fundamental confront for every human being, But everybody experiences that. When if going into abandonment is a habitual thing for you, it will present by when people do not buy into your control, you will feel abandoned.
I love that.
Yeah. When people are not buying your controls and you're not, and quite honestly, you know, control is one of those things that the more you use it, the more the universe will show you what you need to learn, and it will bring you the perfect opportunity to be triggered and to go into your stuff so that you can go home.
Yeah.
So these emotions are habitual, okay? Habits need to be interrupted, okay? If you have a habit of sucking your thumb, okay, you need to choose an incompatible behavior to interrupt that flow. Yeah, put a pair of gloves on, bind your hand, do whatever, okay? Doesn't matter what you do, it's where you come from when you do it that's going to make all the difference. You know, if a mother comes in and binds the child's hand so she can't comfort herself, that's going to be quite, you know, abusive, to be honest. However, if the child grows into an 18-year-old who's binding her hand and she decides for herself that she wants to break this habit, and she decides for herself to choose an incompatible behavior, then that's an act of love. That's a real act of love. So compassion is the incompatible behavior that you need when you are traveling your adverse emotions. So we've talked about awareness, we've talked about compassion. The next thing that is really important is detachment. And all of these three things work together. So detachment is, it's the knowledge, but it's the real understanding that you are not your emotions and you are not your thoughts. Yeah. You are a biochemical being, okay? Your cells communicate through a branched network of cells and pathways within your body, yeah? That neurochemistry is exactly that. It's an electrochemical composition, you know. That's what your emotions are. They are a biochemical cocktail that you are experiencing. It's not you, it's your experience. Fundamental difference. Yeah. You are the one observing that. Yeah. So, and the same with thoughts. You know, thoughts are symptomatic. You know, if you're feeling angry, yeah, you'll be having angry thoughts. Doesn't mean that's who you are. I teach people not to buy into that. You know, I also tell people not to suppress it. But what I do ask them to do is to be aware, be compassionate, and be detached. So to be that step back, to be higher minded, to be, you know, the broad angle view of, you know, what is my experience. So that is the way that we travel. We can travel alone, and that's beautiful, and it's absolutely necessary, because that's what taking responsibility for your emotions is traveling alone, being willing to travel alone. But it is absolutely human, and it's absolutely necessary that you are able to show your hand, to put your needs out there, you know, to say, this is where I'm at, this is what I've got going on. You know, I quite often say to my husband or my daughters or my son, less often, I quite often say, can you hold space for me for 5 minutes, because because I have something to clear, you know. And so, and then I will say, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. They know, I mean, we've been living together a long time. They know, you know, mum really, you know, isn't trying to control my reality. She's simply sharing where she's at, and, you know, and she'll move on. That is what emotional responsibility is. It's about being willing to travel for yourself, being willing to be open with other people about where you're at, and take responsibility for that. You're not asking them to make it better for you. You're just asking them to care. Just asking them to care, you know, and to...
Oh, there's been plenty of times that I've been in with you and we said, hey, have you got 5 for a coey dump, you know, and we just go and just do it. And I think that's how I see enlightened conversations too, is that we allow all our aspects of ourselves to show their light. Not just the professional aspect, you know, but all our aspects of ourselves, so that we can actually role model that emotional responsibility, but also honouring that every part of our psyche is important and has an opinion, and but also taking responsibility for that, you know, like saying, you know, a part of, I'd like to say this is helpful for me in the detachment side. A part of me is really feeling this about that, or thinking this about that, but there's another part of me thinking this, you know, and I like to do it that way. I just think the language helps me to step right into that detachment, like tangibly step into it, because I'm actually talking about myself in the third person, even though I am allowing myself to own that part. And I think that, I just find that's incredibly helpful. I have mentioned that to teenagers as well, and they found that really helpful, because they're like, oh yeah, because they're just like, you know, how you can what I call over-identify with the part of your psyche, and you just make it all about, that's all I am. You know, you classify yourself as that, rather than, oh, you know, that's just part of me. At the moment, it's the predominant part of me, and it's okay to be real about that, right? But then it's about also creating a space required, or that detachment required, to go, that's not all of who I am. That's just an aspect of myself, or a feeling at the moment of a part of myself.
Yeah, yeah. And I would, I'd probably take it even one step further back, and to say, you know, this is my experience at the moment. You know, this is my experience at the moment. In actual fact, you know, I don't like to get too esoteric about this kind of thing, because it's really nuts and bolts, day to day, bread and butter, you know, how we roll, functionality. But I have come to find great advantage from de-identifying with those feelings, to the extent that I know that they're not me. I know that they're not me. You know, they are my experience, and I do need to take responsibility for them, you know, and I certainly will, you know, be wanting to show my hand and get help, and, you know, and draw on the resources that my family can help me with when I'm in my stuff. But I know that that's not me. That is me running at effect of a situation, or something that was projected at me, or something that, you know, that was triggered from memory, or, you know, whatever it might be. You know, yeah.
I was going to say, because I feel like it's probably helpful for people to be able to understand when, you know, like when we're discussing empathy before, and we do, you know, we do have that compassion, and then there's times, especially with empaths, where they feel that they just take like a sponge, like an emotional sponge, and they're just soaking it up. And, you know, it's It's like, sometimes when I know that we attract what we need to heal to, so the energies that we're attracting, we also need to take responsibility for that as well. I get that. But often when people are flooded emotionally and they've got a lot of emotions that they're carrying from other people, how do you deal with that too? I'm curious because I'm sure that would be quite helpful for people to understand.
Yeah, I'm actually quite glad that you spoke more broadly about empaths as a group. There are those people who are highly emotional and feel more sensitively between people than others. And the thing that I have learnt is probably one of the greatest things that I have learnt by travelling my own controls is simply that what you make significant in your life has the power to affect you and so greatly and bring you undone and waste your energy and waste your time. In actual fact, if you are detached with your emotions, they no longer need to have the significance that they once had. If you're feeling abandoned, and you are aware of the significance that you're putting in the space, or the attribution that you're putting in the space, or he doesn't meet my needs, therefore he doesn't love me, for example, that level of significance actually creates that feeling of abandonment. Yeah. If the significance wasn't there, if the control wasn't in the space, if that partner was free to do what he needed to do that was right for him in that moment and be responsible for himself rather than take responsibility for his partner, then if the significance wasn't there, the abandonment wouldn't thrive. The abandonment wouldn't thrive. Sit in that abandonment. Go and see someone who can be there and hold space for your abandonment. And when two people get on an energy, and they travel together with that, and they allow transference to be their superpower in that space, and they travel it together until it collapses and falls in on itself, until it ceases to exist. That is a powerful partnership. That's a very powerful partnership. And that is what I teach, my couples, people who come to see me for couples sessions. And it's an art. It really truly is an art of being disciplined enough to not make significance, not buy into the data that spews out of, X, Y, or Z emotion or energy, and to just be there until it extinguishes, until it collapses in on itself. And then something amazing happens. And it's not really something that I can tell people about. It's something that needs to be experienced. I know that you've experienced it. I know that you spend a lot of time in that place. But it's not everybody's default setting yet. And, and I do envisage a world where we can all get connected with the deepest essence of ourselves, as a default, rather than, the other habitual energies that we think we might be,
Yeah. Oh, agreed. I feel like, if we look at the consciousness collective at the moment, we've got a lot of the colours of the rainbow. I think one of the biggest things that really affects me, to be honest with you, is the fact that, how we talk about domestic violence and we talk about emotional abuse, and we talk about that like in the home. One of my biggest, I guess, triggers where you're talking about significance, what we make significant. One of my biggest triggers is when I see teachers speaking to children a certain way that does not honour their feeling reality. And the other one is when I see people in leadership positions on the world stage and they're talking to each other in ways that you wouldn't accept in your own home. You would not accept when we're talking about in this space that you come to, where you're actually traveling the feeling together, or traveling, you know, the journey together in a connected way, that there's no way you would even think about speaking to someone in that particular way. And I feel, for me, that's part of my mission, is to help bring awareness to that level of domestic violence. You could say domestic leadership violence. I don't even know, probably global leadership domestic violence, emotionally role modelling.
I see where you are. Yeah, I agree with you entirely. I think that the whole world is going to have a massive buyout and see the controls that are in the space for what they are. You know, I think that those kinds of controls that we're talking about, those, you know, global suppressions, those, you know, abusive invalidations of minorities and groups, really need to be seen for what they are. They are the person or the collective projecting their deficit. You know, a control is really only ever as big as the deficit that is felt by the person projecting it, the lack of resource. You know, the controls are about managing comfort. What do you feel you need to be comfortable? You know, what do you feel is a threat to you? You know, what are you prepared? What are you going to do? What are you prepared to do and going to do to not be threatened in that way? People will do dark stuff to not be threatened when they're, you know, when they haven't found the love that they are. You know, when they're not really about restoring love between all beings.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess the thing that we really resonate on is, you know, part of the 12 principles of LPT, Lightworker Practitioner training that we've learned and everything like that, is love and unity. Those are the two that I feel like we really, apart from obviously discipline takes discipline to put detachment in place, and it takes, there's all these other things. There's honesty to be, you know, to be able to do the awareness bit. There's all these other principles that drop in. But for me, the big overarching or underlying support here for me would have to be that you go into the travelling experience of these feelings with an intention of bringing compassion, like right from the very start. And there are a lot of practitioners out there that may well just want to get to the bottom of why this is happening without bringing in that element. Yeah, it's very heady. It's got the real head trip about it, like hence being called a shrink, you know, like it's interesting, you know. But this is different. This is intentionally from the get-go, from the very start, going, we're going to travel it, we're going to be aware of it, but then we are also bringing love and compassion to this so that we can step into a place of transformation, obviously, because when you love something, it does, you're saying it transforms all the time. You know, it collapses in on itself until it clears itself out of the way enough, because it's not in its own way anymore, that it can get into what we really are, the essence of who we really are.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe that that's why adverse emotions are a thing, because they teach us how to become aware of our controls, you know. And if the more you can take responsibility for your own controls and confront those and let go of them, then the faster we're all going to return to love, the faster we are all going home.
That's right. There's no such thing as a bad feeling.
No, that's right. That's exactly right. You know, concepts like you know, good and bad and right and wrong, they quite often get challenged in setting with me. So, yeah, it's a wonderful experience. There's a lot to be learnt within your own being. There's a lot to be learnt from others, and there's a lot to be gained by being really conscious and aware and constructively being, human with yourself.
So powerful, and it's so simple. But once you actually do it, you really get how powerful that simplicity is, because even in mindfulness training, they're talking about you need to be mindful in the present moment. Usually we think, oh, it's about sweeping, because they say when they talk about that, when you sweep, when you eat. Well, when you sweep, you feel. So if you're going to be present, are you going to be present with the sweeping, or are you going to be present with the feeling of how you feel about sweeping? I think, it's bringing it back down to the body. Not
absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like that's real true honesty of being present.
I agree.
And where does that sit and live in the body? And do you dive down into the body? How does that look? When you're traveling, do you take it into the physical realm of the?
Everybody's different with this, Shell. Some people feel different emotions in different places in their body. Quite a large proportion. I mean, if you just simply pay attention to yourself now as you sit here, and you think about something that you really want someone to do for you. Yeah, you really want my husband to take out the recycling. I really want, what do I really, or I really want him to, whatever it is, that has an energy about it. Where do you feel it in your body? Some people will feel it in their heart. Some people will feel it in their solar plexus. Some people feel it in their throat because they haven't asked for it. Some people it'll be, hard on their head, like it's all over the body. I think the old Eastern traditions really knew a thing or two and travelled a thing or two when they expressed the beautiful format that is, the human chakras. So, and that's great, but, some people don't resonate with that, and they don't need to, they don't need to resonate with an old Indian tradition but that whenever anyone feels an emotion, sadness, anger, happiness, it's there in your body. And if you just draw your attention to it and be with it, you'll be able to see what it is and how it's serving you and what its motivations are, And, we do have emotions that serve us, These emotions are used so that other people will behave in a certain way, so other people will tend to us in certain ways that will make us feel good, and that's human. That doesn't come with any judgment. It is what it is. But if you are conscious with that, then you have choice. You have choice about whether that limits you, limits them, whether that's constructive, whether it's not. This is why I always say, show your hand, put your needs on the table. Be really, really authentic and really transparent. Because that's where control doesn't exist, is when you just put it out there with intention to clear or with intention to expand somebody's reality. My intention is to just share where I'm at so we can both expand from here, so that you can understand, understanding is so underrated, and not understanding, like, how does that work? An emotional problem was never ever solved with a rational solution. Emotional issues are solved by lending your heart to the feeling and being with it until it is quiet. Yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome.
I love what I do, Shell.
Oh, I love what you do too. And you're just such a huge force of incredible, I don't want to say emotional activism because it sounds like you're an emotional activist.
I think
you are such an advocate for it. I just absolutely adore it. It's so, not denying how we've chosen to learn here on the planet. That's basically how we've chosen to learn, through our feelings. And when we're liberated from our feelings and our feelings are not us, then we're able to step into higher frequencies that immediately. It's like someone just clears the way and bang, there we are. It's like tapping into an infinite source in a very short period of time. So,
there's nothing more powerful than a decision or a choice actioned. Nothing more powerful.
Yeah. So, well, I would love to for you to share where people can find you, and this will probably be probably airing at the March-April time. So, I know things may change between now and then, but it's great for people to know how to find you, where you are, what you're doing, anything coming up, what you're excited about this year, what you're not excited about this year. We want to know how you feel, Lois.
Look, I am always excited. I think that's fairly close to my the essence of who I am is, excitement. People can find me at Your World Orientation on Facebook. That's probably the fastest route. My website, yourworldorientation.com, will be up and running in February. They can email me on loisrowley@gmail.com. I'm fairly accessible. When people are really ready to change their way of being, they find me.
Yeah. Well, I love what you do. I love who you are. It's been way too long since we connected, but we're always together in spirit. And I'm just so glad that everybody else got to actually hear a snippet or witness some of the magic that you bring to the planet, and that really needs to be heard, because it's precious. It's absolutely precious. I can only imagine what would happen if children were taught these kind of skills, and
from the get-go.
Amazing. You're going to say something else, sweetheart?
Yeah, I just wanted to, right at the beginning of our talk, you said that quite often I am really apparent in your reality, and that you can feel me when you are traveling your emotions. Yeah. I believe that we are all connected. There is no separation between any of us, that we are cells of this universe. And if you need me as a resource, I am there for you. And I know that you are there for me. Abandonment is an illusion. Separateness is an illusion. And in your darkest hour, when you have to be with those emotions by yourself, hopefully the darkness will show you that there is more than just you on this planet. There are all of us all together, and all you have to do is wake up and allow it into your consciousness. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true though. The more we connect together with our own love and compassion for ourselves, the more we do feel that from other people. It's we do create a new reality. That's very true. And and then the good news is the universe actually brings more of that to us as well, and says, yeah, that's your reality. Here you go, have some more love. And it's like, oh really? Okay. Yeah. I can attest to that one. Got lots of love. Yeah. All right, beautiful.
Lots of love.
Well, I will love to catch you very soon and stay connected. But thank you so much for honouring us with your presence today.
No problem. With my pleasure. Thanks, Michelle.